I have always loved Dragon Ball. From the very first time I saw it on Cartoon Network, Toonami and CNX back in the day, to watching the uncut versions through sketchy download sites in the early 2000s, to finally getting all the DVDs and Blu-rays, it's one of my favourite ever media franchises. I just love it. How original all the characters, vehicles and creatures are, the design of the worlds, and of course the big flashy battles. Being a gamer, I naturally always wanted to experience all of this in video game form. Dragon Ball fans have been well served in the video game world, with Dragon Ball games being around for a very long time, always going strong. The first time I started to really enjoy them though was on the PS2. Dragon Ball Budokai was a bit of a revelation, and the games only got better with each sequel. Then we got Budokai Tenkaichi, and it was amazing. Putting the camera back to a third-person perspective and letting you fly all around huge arenas, it was great. And the final entry in the PS2 trilogy, Tenkaichi 3, became one of my favourite ever games, one that I still go back and play to this day. And then we kept getting games, but they never quite measured up, in my opinion, to Tenkaichi 3. We had a fair few attempts on the PS3. Raging Blast 1 and 2 were the closest in terms of design, and they were pretty good, but they seemed to just lack a little something of the special sauce which made Tenkaichi 3 so great. Then we got Ultimate Tenkaichi, which everyone thought would be a proper sequel, and it turned out to be a truly awful rock-paper-scissors simulator, which may have killed the series there and then. We then got Battle of Z, which had some interesting ideas but was largely forgettable, before the series morphed into Xenoverse. Xenoverse 1 and 2 are good games, but their focus was more around building up a character, and it lacked the impact and destructibility that Tenkaichi 3 had. I had accepted that it would never really get a proper sequel to Tenkaichi 3, and that the series would continue to experiment in different ways with different types of fighting games. And then, finally, we've now got Sparking Zero, and it is brilliant. I've got the PlayStation 5 version, and it is everything I could have hoped for. Before we get into talking about the modes and the content, let's just talk about the battles. They are big, flashy, destructive, fast, and everything I could have hoped for. It takes what makes Tenkaichi 3 great, the freedom and pace of it, and cranks it all up. The fights work in fundamentally the same way they did back then. You have a basic punching attack which you can combo with rush attacks, ki blasts, or zooming around. You have a list of super attacks and techniques, and some characters can transform or fuse. They've also added a counter this time, which can be useful, though I don't find myself using it as much as I probably should. Everything in this game just feels quick, and that's what I really enjoy about it. There's no waiting around, doing chip damage on some huge boss, it just works. I know I'm not giving the most insightful analysis of the game right now, but to be honest, Sparking Zero is pretty much what you see is what you get. If you like the look of the battles on screen right now, then you'll like this game. Sure, it's not balanced and there can be cheap moments, but if at your core this kind of big arena battle gets your blood pumping, then you'll like this game. And for me, that's all I've ever really wanted from a Dragon Ball fighter. There are quite a few modes to talk about. First is Episode Battle, which is essentially the game's story mode. It's split into different characters, and you play through each of their paths. There aren't that many characters to pick from, unfortunately, and this is where I hope they expand in the future. One cool thing about this mode though, is it has a lot of alternate stories. At different times in the story, you come across a branching path. One path is the way the story took in canon, and another is the alternate path. These alternate paths are all accessed by making the battle play out in a way that it didn't in canon. For example, one path for Vegeta sees Trunk revealing his beefed up Super Saiyan form in the hyperbolic time chamber. This leads to them realising together that the form isn't worthwhile, and instead training on their original forms, which leads to Vegeta being the initial opponent against Cell instead of Goku, and then Trunk and Vegeta being the ones to finish off Cell instead of Gohan and Goku. I really enjoy these alternate stories because I've played through the story of Dragon Ball Z countless times at this point. It keeps it fresh, and they are my favourite parts of the game so far. In addition to this, there are custom battles and bonus battles. These custom battles are essentially little story episodes that you create yourself, with bonus battles being ones created by the developer. They're a neat little addition and fun to play, and people can upload them for others to try, and I look forward to seeing what people come up with in the future. You've got your standard world tournament and standard battle modes, and of course, online play. which I haven't yet delved into. I'm not much of an online player, as it tends to wound my self-confidence when I immediately get destroyed, but it's good to have the option for those that are fans of playing online. Finally, there are the unlockables, and there's quite a lot. You can unlock a fair bit of the content by just playing the game, but you can also go to the shop and spend Zenny, which you get from playing. You can unlock items which can be used to improve characters' stats, costumes, characters, background music, and much more. There's also a stamp book, which grants you various things for completing different challenges. Overall, I really love Sparking Zero. All I ever wanted as a fan of Dragon Ball games was a true sequel to Tenkaichi 3, not a spiritual successor or a game inspired by it, and we finally have it. It's truly a game made for the fans, and it is brilliant. The only small niggle I have with the game is the character select screen, where it shows all forms and transformations as separate characters. I would have liked for it to be filtered into the base forms, but that is a really very small thing, and in the grand scheme of things, I am so happy we finally got this game.